This is a HeadGum podcast.
Welcome to our new podcast, Misty Nights Uninformed Afro. The new podcast series will dive into the origin stories, character development, and story arcs of our favorite Black superheroines and characters in comics. These are the obscure stories you don't always hear about, and we share commentary on some of our favorite moments in comics. We're going into deep discussions about Storm, Misty Knight, Monica Rambeau, Vixen, Amanda Waller, Riri Williams, Lunella Lafayette, and the Dora Milaje. The series has two hosts, founder and managing editor of BlackGirlNerds.com and host of the BGN podcast, yours truly, Jamie Broadnax. And Stephanie Williams, host of The Lemonade Show. Each episode will reference comic book issues, dates, and creators. That way you can go back and check out the stories for yourself. By the end of the series, you will become a certified expert in the fictional world of Black superheroines. Please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. We'd love to hear what you think about the show. See you soon.
Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Victor.
And this is Megashine. Megashine is a queer, people of color weekly podcast, and we talk about anything from drag to comics to video games to
boys
and anything else in between. So if you want to listen to us, we're on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud, and you can follow us on Megashine Pod and Megashine on Twitter.
That's right. So follow us, talk to us. We'll be here.
And we out.
Shannon, CG, Lauren, and Mel form the Nerds of Prey. A group of ladies bonded by comics, gaming, film, television, and fandom culture. Hang out with them bi-weekly as they dig into the very things that make them loud and proud nerds. Available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play. Also, check out their Patreon at patreon.com/Nerds of Prey.
Peace, y'all. What's up? This is Akil, the MC from the Jurassic 5, and you are now tuned in to Black Girl Nerds Podcast. Yeah, I like nerdy girls.
Hi, I'm Andre Meadows. I have a YouTube channel, Black Nerd Comedy. Have you heard of it? Don't matter, because you are listening to the Black Girl Nerds Podcast, the best podcast in the whole world that I'm doing a promo for right now. Boom! That's true.
What's up, y'all? This is Amanda Seals, comedian, writer, and creator of Get Your Life, and you are listening to the Black Girl Nerds Podcast. Khaleesi.
Hey, what's up? This is Morris Chestnut, and you're listening to the Black Girl Nerds Podcast.
Hey, this is Gina Prince Spicewood, and you are listening to the Black Girl Nerds Podcast.
Hey, it's Sanaa Lathan, and you are listening to the Black Girl Nerds Podcast.
Hello, this is Jordan Peele, the director of Get Out, and you are listening to the Black Girl Nerds Podcast.
Hey, y'all, this is LeVar Burton, Kunta, Jordy, Reading Rainbow Guy. You are listening to the Black Girl Nerds Podcast. It is the bomb diggity podcast on the interwebs, but you don't have to take my word for it.
5, 6, 7, 8. Holla boys and girls, it's the BGN. Coming from the Marvel world to the DC friends. All the way from Hollywood to the PCN. She defends everyone from sleazy men. Won't apologize for spitting Shonda rhymes. The space that we make is never colonized. Talking games and movies and actors. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Yeah, better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Ha. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.
Thanks for tuning into episode 109 of the Black Girl Nerds Podcast. My name is Jamie, and I am your host. This episode is titled, I Love Bekka and Lucy, Greenleaf, and Unstoppable Wasp. 3 segments. In our first segment, we interview the team behind I Love Bekka and Lucy, a new digital web series that premiered at South by Southwest. And in this segment includes web series creator Rachael Holder, cast Tanisha Long, Jessica Parker Kennedy, Chris Smith, and Alexis Denisoff. In our second segment, we invite actor Rick Fox, who plays the role of Darius on Season 2 of OWN's Greenleaf. He chats on a one-on-one with Caron. And in our third segment, we invite comic book writer Jeremy Whitley. This is his second appearance on the Black Girl Nerds podcast, and in this interview, he sits down on a one-on-one with Joy to talk about his latest book, The Unstoppable Wasp. So that's our show. We look forward to your comments, whether it's on SoundCloud or using it on Twitter, and doing it under the hashtag, of course, BGN Podcast. And don't forget, we have a Patreon, and your support is always appreciated. Just go to patreon.com/blackgirlnerds. And thanks so much for tuning into this episode. Episode 109, I Love Bekka and Lucy, Greenleaf, and Unstoppable Wasp. Enjoy! Bekka and Lucy are best friends who are each other's favorite people. They live together in Eagle Rock, in Los Angeles, on an abandoned block where they enjoy keeping to themselves with their roaming backyard chickens and getting to the town pool early enough to avoid interacting with other people. All is well on their secluded block until a neighbor moves in next door and Lucy's boyfriend unexpectedly proposes. This segment is hosted by Kyndal. And this interview features director Rachael Holder, cast Jessica Parker Kennedy, Tanisha Long, Alexis Denisoff, and Christopher Nicholas Smith. All right, so thank you all for coming on the Black Girl Nerds podcast. I'm Kyndal, super excited to interview you. So today we have the creator and mastermind behind the show I Love Bekka and Lucy, as well as the cast. We have Jessica Parker Kennedy, Tanisha Long, Alexis Denisoff, and Chris Smith. And our mastermind here is fellow Black Girl nerd Rachael Holder. And so I want to start, well, you know, like I said, we can keep this pretty conversational, but I do want to ask you about how you're feeling today and just the whole whirlwind of your show being premiered at South by Southwest.
I'm so excited. I was just saying at lunch, it feels like my birthday and my wedding day, and I'm getting married to all of you.
That's the best way to describe it. Yeah. So can you tell, for our audience, if they're not really familiar with the web series and the show, you know, I'll start with you, and then we can just kind of go around and talk a little bit about your characters and the role that you all play on the show. But we'll start with you about what the show is about.
Sure. The show is about the evolution of a best friendship between Bekka and Lucy, two inseparable best friends. When one of them gets engaged to be married, it sort of changes them as people and their best friendship for the better and worse.
Awesome. Tanisha, tell us a little bit about your character.
I feel like we'd have to talk now. Lucy, yeah, I'm a lot like her. She's an introvert, and she's kind of trying to figure it out, but she thinks she knows everything. She thinks she's more mature than she is, which is, I think, true of me all the time. And she's, you know, dating this guy. She's been dating for a really long time. And, you know, he might not be the greatest, but he's pretty great to her. Yeah, I'm doing a terrible job of talking about my character.
No,
I'm sorry. Was that accurate?
Yeah,
we
have that after lunch.
Yeah, I just had fish tacos, and now
from where?
The place we were at.
Don
Julio's? Oh,
I just
okay.
had really good.
No, those tacos are great. Yeah. I'm Texas native, so I understand.
Yeah,
fish tacos. Yeah.
I mean, what else? I'm gonna say one more thing. She's really kind and really sweet. But like her heart's always in a good place. But you know, she's a she's got a lot of growing up to do, I think. Like, a lot.
Yeah, Bekka is, I would say, the externally tougher of the two.
Yeah.
Lucy's tough too, just in a different way. She's very unapologetically herself, and lives very much in the moment. And is deeply. I mean, they have these very adult jobs, but have this tremendously beautiful childlike quality to them that they've held on to that I relate to so very, very, very much with my own best friend. We're just like absolute children, and gratefully so when we're together.
I'm glad you said that, because I was also going to ask you if you all or how you all relate to your characters. So that's great that you put that there. Thank you.
So I play Glenn. And Glenn is the unwelcome neighbor who kind of breaks the spell of the splendid isolation that the girls are living in. And I think maybe to the extent that they're introverted, he is extroverted. And I don't know how much more I should say unless we're getting into spoilers, but that's sort of what he comes in with. I'll say that.
Okay.
And I play Harry. And bless you.
Thank you.
Got another one coming?
There's so many more.
They usually come in threes. No. I've been watching all day. Lucy's boyfriend, and he's kind of like I'd like to think of him as a nice guy, but I think the outsider or your average viewer, would say that he's maybe a little deficient in some capacities in terms of taking care of himself and others. But he's a nice guy, good looking. Good teeth.
I mean, that's devastatingly handsome. I think it's fair to
dashing,
say.
whatever.
Good teeth is
and rich.
Choose your fit. I would say fit,
physique.
but I think the modern thing is fit, right? That's what people say. Fit. Yeah. So, but I'm ripped too. Yeah.
Sort of a superhero.
Super ripped. So. And anyone can answer this. What are you all most excited for the audience to see during the premiere?
How do I talk about this without spoiling anything? Never mind. I feel like it's a spoiler. There's a scene that's like really funny, and we had so much fun shooting it. I'll say that. I can say there's a scene that we had so much fun shooting. We were all laughing during it, and it was like I was just so excited to see how it turned out. And I got to see the show already, and it was like just so funny and so uncomfortable, and so all the things that I read in the scene when we were doing it. You know what scene I'm talking about.
There's a table involved.
My favorite scene.
We won't give away anything, right?
It's really cool, so I guess I'm excited to see how people react to that scene.
I'm really excited for people to see brown girls and a nuanced version of what it means to be black, and to see the world through their perspective. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited just going off of what she was saying, I'm really excited for people to see the choices that this cast made in their characters that just came out of them naturally. In particular, that scene, there's a moment, there's a choice. I guess I'm going to be giving it away too.
See what I'm saying?
But there's a choice. I think I can do it. There's a choice that was made that wasn't in the script that is hilarious. That's not anything either. But
the moral of the story is everyone needs to watch this.
Everyone
we can't tell you.
You just wait.
You wait till you see that scene that we were real vague about. It is good.
Something with the table. We'll figure it out.
There's a table.
Yeah. So we're Black Girl Nerds, so I have to ask, what is the one thing, or it could be more than one, that you geek out over, that you nerd out over? You and I, Tanisha, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording.
Did.
But, yeah, just kind of talk a little bit about what's your nerd moment.
What do you love the most?
I just got really excited. I had an interview with Final Draft, and they're giving me Final Draft 10, and I'm so excited that I get it for free.
Expensive.
So,
Yeah, no, that's
I'm a nerd, and I'm so pumped to write in my free Final Draft. It's awesome.
Dope. I am coming to terms with the fact that I am a TV fangirl. Obviously, I'm an actor, and like that's how that happened. But I'm really obsessed with Sherlock right now, and kind of embarrassed about it. But like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm really into like sci-fi stuff. Like, I have always loved the X-Files. I did not like the new season, but the new season was really disappointing. And I think I tweeted something mean, and like Mitch Pileggi, who plays Walter Skinner on the show, was following me, and he unfollowed me after I tweeted it, and I wanted to cry.
Oh,
why? Because he's like one of my favorite characters. And
I don't know, why did he unfollow you?
I think he didn't like my tweet. I was criticizing the season finale because they weren't following the mythology of the show. I mean, it's 10 seasons, and you're not going to follow what the show's about. Why make a new season? So that's he didn't like that.
He's dead to me now.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was, but he's dead to me.
I'll show you a picture. But yeah, that's like... I like love sci-fi. I love I just started watching Legion. I've watched the X-Men movies, even though I deeply don't enjoy them usually. Like I watched Apocalypse, and it made me. I was just like, where did that story even come from?
Yeah, I saw that on your Twitter.
None of that is actual X-Men origin story stuff, and like I don't want to spoil it, but like. The stuff with Apocalypse is like ridiculous.
Oh no, you can spoil X-Men Apocalypse.
They kill Apocalypse. You can't kill him. That's the point of Apocalypse. Like literally, I like literally screamed at the TV, and I was like, I'm not watching any more X-Men movies until they make a Storm movie. And
that's real too.
But the origin story they gave her in that movie was a lie. That's not. Okay, look. See, this is getting weird now.
No, it's not.
This is me at home.
Wasn't there a storm, or is there no storm? I thought it was.
There is a storm. There's been two. So there's been Halle Berry.
Halle Berry.
And the new girl. Baby Storm. But Baby Storm's origin story is wrong. Apocalypse did not find her and make her powerful. Like, she was already super powerful, and she lived in Africa with her family. Like,
everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
I knew that.
This is turning into something else right now. So I'm a nerd, is what we're learning.
You're a hardcore nerd.
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah.
It runs deep in me.
No, that's okay. So I love how your previous, the web series, and just the way it depicts female friendships, cross-cultural female friendships. And I think, just from what I saw, a lot of the conversations they literally sound like conversations I have with my friends.
Oh, that's great.
When I'm texting my friends, these are the type of conversations that we're having. So did you pull from that? Like, things that go on between your friends and put that in the show?
Yeah, this was like a love story to my best friend, basically.
Awesome.
Being like, I miss you. Don't have more kids. Don't. Yeah. Children are great. I think I was living in LA at the time when I did that iteration of this project, and I missed my best friend, and I missed all the time that we used to spend together. So I wrote about that time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for my actors here, if you all could play any other fictional character on television, who would you play?
Like current TV?
It doesn't have to be.
Okay. I don't know. Alexis, what do you think?
I hear Peter Capaldi's not going to do any more Doctor Who. But
I think I could
do a good Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh,
have a look.
Ooh, you would be a good doctor.
That's just on the top of my head. If we're in that.
Do you know what my favorite role of all time was? And I would like, if this would be the only thing I would do, I would actually is Columbo. Have you ever watched Columbo?
Oh, that'd be great. I would watch
Peter
that.
Falk.
You've got that.
But he was the best.
But there's no need.
There's no need to redo it, because it's perfect.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Watch your Columbo and your Doctor Who.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That was me.
I'm not uncomfortable answering this question.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be a mutant. That's like the thing I say to Rachel all the
That's
time.
right.
I was like, I want to be a mutant, dude. I want to levitate on TV. Like,
Sci-fi.
I was watching Doctor Strange, and because I love Benedict Cumberbatch. And I'm watching Doctor Strange, and I was like, I want to do this, like, because I know how much he loves acting. And to watch him just be like this American guy that like gets these, like realizes he has these powers. I was like, I want to do it. I want to like do the green screen and like see it and like this is so cool. Because I who doesn't want to be a superhero? I mean,
right?
Cool. I would like to be a villain though.
Well, who would you be, Rachel?
I would be a writer director person. Probably. I don't think I would want to act ever. Is my answer.
Are you sure? It's wonderful.
I don't know. I think it's so brave and so. I'm just like, these people are like mythical creatures to me. I don't know if I would ever be able to. I feel like I expose a lot of myself in my writing, which feels really vulnerable. But I don't know if I would be able to take it to that next step and do it in front of people.
Completely understand.
Yeah.
So I want to ask one last question. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Just if you can describe the show in 3 words, and anyone can answer this, how would you describe it?
In 3 words.
3 words.
That's really difficult.
Human. Funny. I'm just like complimenting myself.
Brilliant, outstanding. 4 stars.
Unexpected, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we all have to pick 3 new words.
No, I don't have to.
Writer go first.
I'm so stressed out. Yeah, we were all waiting for you. We're like, she's gonna nail this. She's gonna nail it, y'all.
Oh, that was good.
How about It's About Time?
It's about, hey, that works.
Woo! Yeah.
Well, we're so thankful that you all were a part of the Black Girl Nerds podcast.
Thank you.
Don't follow us, but tell us where we can find you on social media.
I am at my name, Tanisha Long, on everything. I have no life and spend too much time on social media.
You can find me at jparkerk on Twitter once a year, and jparkerk3 on Instagram twice a year.
I'm at Alexis Denisoff on Twitter, and I might be doing Instagram soon.
I'm at Smith Chris on Twitter. I'm Chris Smith on Instagram, and I'm ChrisSmith100 on chess.com. And if anybody wants to play me at chess.com, just I play chess. I'm serious.
I know you are. We know you are.
My friend just told me to download that the other day. Maybe I'll start
So
playing
fun.
you.
My Twitter. Sorry, I don't know. Sorry, I don't remember. I just.
She writes funny.
No, that's my
Instagram.
That's Instagram. My twit is
I love that you don't know your Twitter handle.
I know. I don't. Sorry.
She's not tweeting herself.
I love tweeting yourself.
R Holder writes.
Yep.
And
All right.
From around the
Instagram
corner.
is She Writes Funny.
All right. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's really fun.
On the new OWN network show Greenleaf, Rick Fox joins the cast in Season 2. The retired basketball player has taken on the role of Darius, a handsome reporter covering the latest round of scandals at Calvary Fellowship World Ministries. Rick Fox has also appeared as a contestant on Dancing with the Stars and a guest celebrity judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. Take a listen to this one-on-one interview with host Caron.
Hey guys, it's Caron. Welcome to the Black Girl Nerds podcast. Season 2 of Greenleaf on OWN is just underway and brings with it more folly for the faithful. This time around, we get a little bit more depth into the lives at Calvary and new additions to the fold. Rick Fox is an athlete, an analyst, an actor, a producer. He's a champion on and off the court and quite possibly holds all the secrets of anti-aging. Please welcome Rick Fox to the BGN podcast.
Anti-aging. Oh my gosh. What an amazing introduction. Thank you. That was beautiful.
You are so welcome. You know, I got to tell you, you were single-handedly responsible for 2 of my life obsessions. Tall men with curly hair and college basketball. You and King Rice were everything to me.
Oh, we go back.
Yes, we go way back.
Go back.
I rocked with you in the blue and white.
Back.
way back.
That's amazing. Thank you. Well, we are still alive. I don't know if you're a Tar Heel fan, but we're still alive.
I'm still y'all fans.
Madness. Yes, okay. Well, King is, if you're wondering where King Rice is, he's the coach at the University of Monmouth in New Jersey.
Yes,
he's
and doing
really
quite well. It's so good to have you here. You are playing Darius Nash, a reporter and Gigi's love interest in this season of Greenleaf. What can you tell us about Darius?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. Darius works as a reporter in this town, and as you know, in the town of the Greenleaf Empire lives in, it's hard not to come across something that of a story that doesn't touch one of the members of the family as of late. So it is my job to be a truth seeker and deliver the facts. And as I meet and discover Grace Greenleaf, who has great substance and is very intriguing and hooks Darius's curiosity more personally than professionally, we find ourselves in season 2 balancing that line of all that Grace knows about her life and all that she's handling, which is at times very, very challenging and messy, coupled with, discovering who we are and what we are to each other, and how we may enjoy an easy conversation around the fact that she was a journalist and I am a journalist.
Yes.
So we understand that. We understand both of those. I mean, I'm living the life that she was on her way to New York to live and continue to pursue. So that there's that void in her life right now. But yet, for me, I can't help but be curious about this woman. But at the same time, I have a job to do.
We all have a job to do, and I got to tell you, you are quite the distraction. I'm sure for Gigi too. I want to know. I know that you studied television and film in college, but not many athletes have been able to successfully make the transition from the court to the screen. How has it been for you, or is it really a transition since it's part of your foundation?
Well, I'm blessed. I'm glad I had that foundation years ago, because it's what kept me going. It's just what kept me pursuing and evolving and expanding and growing as an actor. I didn't have an expiration date on when I needed to be somewhere in my acting career, so that helps. I think what has really afforded me the opportunity after 22 years to be on a set with such a great team and be included in this world has been just consistency and persistence and patience, and I still see myself as, if I looked at the full breadth of the journey I am on as an actor, I'm probably in college right now. So I don't, and that's after 22 years, because that's where a 22-year-old person would be. They'd be in college, and so I don't have, like, I act and I really pursue these stories and these characters and these worlds because it's so joy. It brings such joy and so much pleasure to be an actor, and it's challenging and it's gut wrenching at times, and we rip our souls open and we carry these emotions and these characters that people don't want to deal with in real life, and then they feel really relieved to live these stories and these issues through us, and so there's no greater joy in my life. And I've had some pretty big moments and been a part of some really fantastic journeys as an athlete. But, this is a journey I've been on since I was a kid in the Bahamas. And it's one that I knew would be would be the one that carried me through my entire life. And here I am, in my 40s. And I still am as excited as can be to be on set and to be playing Darius Nash.
Did you grow up in the church?
I did. I grew up in a church just like Calvary. Yes, it consumed many hours of my week as a kid. Went to church Wednesday nights, Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday night.
Oh, so you were tarrying long at the altar.
Oh yeah. I was, I grew up in the church, and it was, so it brings up a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings and a lot of questions and a lot of thoughts for Darius. And as Darius, as the writers explore Darius's journey, this world is ripe for me to reach down on my own experiences and connect them to what Darius is living right now. So I know it well. I'm very comfortable in this environment.
I think it's really interesting because Greenleaf challenges a lot of what's happened in the church, the development of the church itself, in a way that we really haven't seen examined on television. The closest we would see come to the Black church would be a stage play or a sitcom. So with these very real issues that are being brought to the forefront in Greenleaf, how can you relate to the character of Darius and even to Daddy Greenleaf?
Well, they're real people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're people that live among us in each of our churches. They're humans, and with humanity comes a lot of challenge, right? A lot of challenge to, in this case, if you're a God-fearing person and you want to live a God-fearing life, it doesn't preclude the fact that there are a lot of people out in the world you interact with that aren't God-fearing, and the challenges and the temptations of the flesh to the temptations to live to live an authentic, truthful existence is, we all go through it daily. So it's not hard to stumble. We stumble all the time. It doesn't make us less worthy of God's love or less worthy of His blessings. It's just, some of us, we get swallowed up in shame, right? We get swallowed up in the shame of our own, stumblings, and it just complicates the issue. And then we complicate it, right? We make it worse than it has to be, by telling lies on top of lies on top of lies. And so,
say that.
So this is, this is just real. This world is real, and that's why people connect to it, because they know it's right under the surface that we're all living on a day-to-day basis. And when we go to churches on Sunday, when we go to our churches on Sunday, and we look to our left or our right, or we listen to the word of the bishop or the pastor, we know that person's human too. We know that they're delivering the word of God, but at the same time, they have their own challenges. And if we haven't seen, it reported and documented or more times than one about the challenges of the pulpit in their own ways, why would we think it's less? They're supposed to have the direct connection to God, right? Like the higher connection that they're bringing to us. Yet they're human too. And if we can stumble, they can stumble. If we can struggle and have questions, and if we can, fall by the wayside, then, we shouldn't judge. What's the saying?
Judge not, lest you be judged.
You be judged, right?
I have the soul of an old church mother. I do know.
yeah, me too. If you started, I could probably finish it.
I know that's right. Rick, tell me, what is your greatest joy right now?
My kids.
Wow. How old are they now?
22 and 16. Just seeing them stand on their own, and seeing them, really, my greatest joy is that they ask me questions still.
Yeah.
That they talk to me openly about the things they are curious about. They share their faults. When they stumble, they don't run away and hide them, which tells me that I didn't screw something up along the way.
Yeah, I can relate.
And that's my greatest fear, is that my kids wouldn't talk to me, and that they wouldn't come to me when life's greatest challenges, when they're faced with life's greatest challenges, and when they're curious about things and they want to do things or try things, or they're struggling with relationships, or they're struggling with work, that they just feel that their dad is a safe place to go to. And at this point in their lives, in my life, I've been able to maintain that connection. And it is my greatest joy that they call me on a day-to-day basis, that they reach out to me, and that they talk openly and honestly about their lives. And I could not ask for anything more.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for spending just a little bit of time with us. Any final words for our Black Girl Nerds?
Yeah, if they're just discovering Greenleaf in season 2 here, I want them to know that they could go back, and if they have Netflix, they can really get caught up really quickly here and watch season 1.
Yes.
Which will get them really caught up with the world and the characters, and as they go forth, really, spread the word. If there's issues that arise in the show that bring up feelings, and start up a conversation. Really don't really continue to expand the conversation so that we get to places in our communities and in our churches and in this world as a whole where we're talking about stuff that is right under the surface, and that we're not just looking at our fellow brother and sister and have something to say to them and not say it.
I got my eyes on you, Rick Fox. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you. I love you, Rick Fox. Thank you.
All right.
Such an honor.
Thank you for the love.
Take care.
All right. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Based on the story of Hank Pym's daughter is the new Marvel series, The Unstoppable Wasp. She's a genius, superhero, and completely unstoppable. And there's some guest appearances in this first book with Ms. Marvel and Mockingbird. The Unstoppable Wasp is written by Jeremy Whitley. He joins us on this podcast interview along with Joy to discuss his new book and also his work as a creator in comics.
All right, welcome to this installment of Black Girl Nerds. I am your host, Joy, and today we have a very special guest. He is a comic book writer, known for his great books like Princeless and Secret Love, but most recently known for the new run of Unstoppable Wasp. This is Jeremy Whitley. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, the first time I actually read some of your work was Civil War II, Choosing Sides, and I remember very vividly reading what you wrote for Misty Knight, kind of talking about her self-worth and trying to figure herself out, kind of post the Danny Rand breakup. And I loved it so much that I made that little snippet of her teaching other little Black girl martial arts. I made that my Abby for a little while, so it really meant a lot to me. So thank you.
That's awesome. I really loved doing that story. It was interesting because it was one of those things where, like, when the editor approached me about it, all we really knew was that, War Machine was going to die at the beginning of Civil War. And, what he wanted to do was, what he said to me was, we want to have somebody who's going to have a unique perspective on, War Machine's death. Obviously, what Iron Man feels about it and what Carol feels about it is going to be covered pretty thoroughly between the event and, their two solo books. We want to take some time to, hear what some other people who, don't have a solo book at this point are thinking. And, it was neat because I pitched a whole slew of ideas. The original 4 people I came up with was, I was thinking about something with America Chavez, something with Misty Knight, something with Monica Rambeau, and then initially, like, the Thing was my 4th guy, and it just so happened that the Thing wasn't going to be on Earth at the time, so I had to come up with somebody new. And in the meantime, I had read the issue of Sam Wilson, Captain America, where they had the funeral in there, and Storm was there, and I thought, well, I have 3 women of color in this story, whose voices are very rarely kind of heard in the Marvel universe. They're around in some cases, but there's very rarely stories like told from Misty's perspective. And so it seemed like a good moment to, like, grab Storm up in there and have these these 4 characters, because in the meantime he had been like, yeah, you should do just all 4 of them in 2 pages apiece, which is an incredibly intimidating thing. But like, I love Misty, and I just come off writing the Misty and Danny story for Secret Wars, so it's kind of a little bit of my morning process as well.
Right, and I appreciate you saying that. Oftentimes, in particular, with Misty Knight and Monica Rambeau, they're kind of treated as these ancillary characters, which they actually do have a rich history, and I think we're seeing more with that, with Monica being in the Ultimates, as well as Misty being in Sam Wilson, and particularly that funeral scene for issue 10. Now her being a part of Black Panther and the crew that's coming out. So we're seeing more of her kind of in the comics. Probably a lot of it has to do with the success of the Netflix TV show, which however we see fit for it to happen, I'm fine with. But I just appreciated that you kind of took these characters that are viewed as secondary, that are viewed from the average kind of comic book character as not having rich history, especially as Black women and women of color, and giving them a voice, because someone who has a rich history as Rhodey, who is a Black character, who has been in the comic books for a long time, they would feel a way about that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And, it became one of those things as I was sort of starting this issue up of like, in Misty's case, she's a lot like Rhodey, not only in being, a Black superhero in a world full of these very loud, prevalent white superheroes, but also in that, she's just a human. Like, the only thing between her and, these gods that she's fighting is, that metal arm and her, her own personal strength and wherewithal. She's not invincible. When they land one good hit on her, like Thanos did on Rhodey, and it's all over.
No, absolutely true. Well, speaking of women of color characters, that is a perfect segue for Unstoppable Wasp. So, obviously, Unstoppable Wasp is a take on an original character. Obviously, Pym and the Pym particles is not something new to the Marvel Comics kind of universe, but Nadia Pym is a new character, and kind of coming from a different spin. What gave you the idea for Nadia, who's a new character on Earth 616 and in Marvel Comics in general?
Well, the original origin for her was put together by Mark Waid in his run on All New All Different Avengers, and it's a team with 7 characters. So it's she gets a little bit of time there, but not a whole lot. But basically, it was really interesting to me in the origin that obviously part of the desire for this character to exist is that the character of the Wasp in the Marvel movies is the daughter of Hank Pym, and Marvel kind of wants a character that people who are interested in that character can jump into the comics and see and read about. So she sort of started that way, but her origins really go back to comics that were coming out in the 60s and the introduction of Hank Pym, because part of his backstory when he's first introduced is that he had this wife, Maria Travoia, who was kidnapped on their honeymoon, disappeared, and was later found to be dead. And basically, what they've how Nadia's origin works is that all of this is true, all of this happened, but what nobody knew is that she was pregnant when she was kidnapped, and that child that she gave birth to inside this camp basically is Nadia, is the new Wasp. So she's a young, super intelligent teenage girl who has been locked inside this the Red Room her whole life, being trained to be a super scientist.
Right. And one of my favorite things, and I wrote this on blackgirlnerds.com, talking about issue 2 and 3, which I reviewed of Unstoppable Wasp. The comic absolutely centers women of color, specifically women of color in the STEM field, which I thought was great. Besides that, the other thing I love about it is they usually highlight 2 girls who are real life in the STEM field at the end of the comic and kind of highlight what they're doing and give their social media handles so that people can follow them and know what they're up to. But going back to the girls of color, obviously you have Taina and Alexis and Priya and Shay, and Lunella got the ask, but obviously her being the smartest person in the Marvel comic universe, she's busy, she has things to do. But pretty much every girl in Girl is a woman of color except for Nadia. My question is, what was your motivation to have that happen? Because to see an organization, even fictional, ran by Black and brown girls is actually quite rare in nonfiction world, let alone in the fictional world.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And for me, that was, a big thing going in is, a lot of people will be familiar with my work from Princeless, which is, a book about, a young woman of color who's a princess who, is locked away in a tower and decides to save herself. And, I feel like a lot of the love and acclaim I've gotten from people has been from people who, found something in that book that other people weren't doing and that they had been looking for. And, in my case, I had been looking for, because, my daughter is a young woman of color, and, part of the reason I created the character of Adrian is to reflect, that, so she could see a character who, looks like herself being the hero, and, not just, as is often the case with superhero books, being, quote, powerful, but then very rarely having agency or being the hero of the story. And, I was really excited about working on the Wasp because there was this aspect of women in STEM, which I thought was also, rare and important with what they were doing. But, the character that I first get paired up with for an ongoing series is not just the Wasp, but, a wasp in the sense of her being, very, very white in this case. And I wanted to do something that was a little more reflective of, especially in her case, she's supposed to be living in New York. And too often to me, like, fiction around New York is very full of white people. And New York is not. Like, New York is a very diverse population. And, I wanted to have her sort of running around New York and picking up these characters who are not necessarily unique to New York, but reflective of New York, and also, come from a variety of backgrounds that a variety of, young girls will be able to see themselves hopefully reflected in. So, we have, not just Nadia, but, Taina, who is Latina, and we have, a whole variety of not just races, but backgrounds and abilities and things like that. And, for that matter, fields of science. Everybody has sort of a unique specialty in the group. And, it was important for me to sort of get these characters out there without necessarily the entire focus being like pointing at these unique characters and telling everybody how unique they are, but in, putting them out there and making them, important just by the fact that they exist.
Right. Now, in your experience, because obviously, to your point, you have, or what the books you're known for have been centered around women of color, but you're not necessarily obviously doing the coloring and the penciling, you're doing the writing. And so in your time kind of being as a comic book writer, have you had the opportunity to work with women of color who kind of look like the characters you want to kind of bring to life onto the page? And if not, like, do you think that that's an opportunity coming in the near future?
So in my creator work, I absolutely have. I've made it sort of a point to try and find people to work with who, not just because I want to have Black women involved in telling stories of Black women, because I do, that's important, but also, like, in a lot of cases there are things that I don't have to tell people who are creators of color that sometimes I do have to tell other white folks working on books. Like there have certainly been instances where I've had stories where it's like, all right, this character who's supposed to be Latina looks white, and the character who's supposed to be Black is like, very light caramel coloring. Like I want to shift all of this over because it's just sort of this. I don't know if it's unintentional or just subliminal whitening up of characters that it's I guess nice in both cases. When I've worked with women of color, that I don't have to say, okay, please make the Black character Black, and not, just as light as you can get away with and still seem Black.
Right. And absolutely, that's one of the things that I think we're seeing more in kind of the social sphere is the realization that, hey, having the characters are absolutely wonderful. It's super important. We also want to make sure that, Black women and women of color are getting hired to tell these stories, whether it be behind the writer's desk or they're the pencilers or they're the colorers or things of that nature. I think it brings a certain kind of like extra special nuance to these stories when you have women of color not only telling these stories and being represented in these stories, but also being able to bring these stories aesthetically to life. So I agree with you.
I think I'm making a concerted effort and stuff that I'm pitching for work for hire for places like Marvel. When I'm trying to put together a book that will prominently feature people of color to try and actually integrate people of color into that process, to have that as part of the pitch, because I don't think you can depend necessarily on the sphere of editorial and things like that to do it on their own. Editors are busy, and in a lot of cases it's much easier for them to just tap a person that they know can get something done. But if I know what kind of story I'm trying to pitch, and I know it's something that should have a woman of color co-writing that story, and I think in a lot of cases the impetus falls on me to go out and find that person before I go to Marvel or anybody else and say, all right, I want to write this book, and then expect them to go out and find somebody for me to write it with.
Right. So last question, what's next without spoiling anything, what's next for Girl and Nadia Pym? I have to point out that you did a really great job in setting up the members of Girl agreeing to it. My only request is you got to get a girl from the Bronx, because I'm from the Bronx. So you gotta get one girl from the Bronx to be a part of Girl as an engineer is my only personal request. But in general, what is next for the Girl engineering group and for Nadia Pym?
Bronx. I was thinking, we've got Taina's from Washington Heights. She's up there. I don't think I have anybody that's specifically from the Bronx, though.
Yeah, because like Washington Heights is, depending on you ask, it's like it's in that in between the Bronx and Manhattan. If you ask Bronx people, they'll say for the most part they're from the Bronx. If you ask people who are from Manhattan and kind of like the gentrifying Bronx / Manhattan, they'd say like Inwood and Washington Heights are part of Manhattan. I personally think it's like a good mixture of both. I personally am from the South Bronx, which is like, make no mistake, this is the Bronx. Like, this is that specific area. Like, there is no room for debate. This is the Bronx. It's deep in the borough. So I was pleased that you actually had them living in various boroughs. I think you're right. We have a lot of New York characters that are originally from New York. You never see their neighborhood. Which frustrates me because, to your point, New York is so diverse. I think the only really kind of to life iteration that I've seen of truly New York in recent memory is, funny enough, the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, just because it had kids of color like actually going to his school because obviously Peter Parker's from Queens. So I was very excited about having girls from different boroughs a part of Girl, but for the rest of their adventures, without spoiling anything, what do you think is going to be happening next?
So, obviously we get a big kind of cliffhanger at the end of 3. We're getting ready to set up the first like real person-to-person fight that Nadia has dealt with in this story. And that she's actually facing down a supervillain in Pound Cakes, who is, much bigger than her, and at least in theory, much stronger than her. And as a female, villain that I really like, that they haven't, nobody's really used in a long time. So I wanted to get her in there, and we're gonna have a kind of a blowout at the beginning of this issue where people are gonna kind of get to see a different side of Nadia from what they've seen, because she is bright, she is cheerful, she is happy, but this is also a girl who, was brought up in a bunker being taught how to kill people. Like, she knows how to take, people on when she needs to. So we're going to see a slightly different side of her, and I think we're going to get a little more of inside look at what the situation is with the Red Room and with Ying, and and by the time issue 4 is done, there will be no question where we're going, because issue 5 and 6 are going to be big and fun and exciting, and also deal with how people from different boroughs get around New York City, which is fun, because we're doing the big call together the group for the first time to solve a problem here, and the fact that nobody's parents want to drive them around New York, and half of them, don't have any access to a car, is actually like a plot point in the story, because, New York.
Yeah, it's a large, I don't think people realize that until they move here. I like to remind friends all the time that the distance for me to come from the Bronx to Brooklyn, from the area that I grew up, is the same distance for me to go from Manhattan to Philly. It's the same amount of time on the train. So. Oh yeah, and I mean So the first time I came to New York, I came for New York Comic Con, and the first year I kind of stayed right across the river in New Jersey, and I would just take the ferry over every day. And I just thought it was so silly that people from New York didn't have cars. And then because I live in the South, I live in North Carolina. I can't get to a place where I can get food without driving. Right, of course. So that idea it was foreign to me. And then I love running around on the subway. I'm a country kid in that way, where I'm like, oh, the subway. But the second time I came up for the show, I stayed with Jamal Igle, who lives in Brooklyn, and he had to drive into the show the first morning to bring stuff with him for a get together we were having afterwards, and then sitting in the car with that dude
trying to get from like Manhattan, from Midtown Manhattan to Brooklyn on a Friday night it's like a nightmare. Like, I was like, I can see the bridge. Why can't we get to the bridge, Jamal? And it's just like, we got to go this way and up, and these two lanes are closed, and this whole street is closed, so we got to go. It's like, I never want to have a car in New York.
Yeah, no. You realize very quickly, like, this is a poor idea. This is terrible.
I was like, never. Manhattan is just a time suck. Like, as soon as your car gets on the bridge, and you can just kiss the rest of your day goodbye, I feel like.
But you learn something. At least if you go to New York Comic Con this year, make sure to just, if you're going to stay somewhere, stay in an Airbnb, and then just take the train over to Jacob Javits Center. It's much easier. They have a train station stop right near
there's
it.
No station there when I started coming, and I was like, it's a quick street to get there. It's like, well, you take a train to like Midtown, and then you walk like 10 blocks to get to the Javits Center.
You have to get off on 34th. Before it used to be the ACE. That would be the closest one, and it would be 8th Avenue, and you would have to walk 3 long avenues to get to your destination. Now they have the 7 train. You can get on the Hudson Yard. And that's the stop, and it drops you off in between like 11th and 12th Avenue, and as soon as you get off the train, like Jacob Javits Center is like right there. It's so close.
Yeah, that's super nice, because it was weird trying to get around, but yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm really like fascinated with New York, and that I feel like that shows up to some extent in the book, because like I love the borough and neighborhood qualities of New York, where like I walked up from the Javits Center down to Hell's Kitchen to like Midtown to go to a signing that people were doing, and like the fact that like as you walk down blocks, like the language around you changes, like the type of people that are just on the street changes from like 2 blocks to the next 2 blocks is incredible, and a thing you don't see anywhere else. Like I wanted to kind of give some of that impression. Issue 3, she's in Midtown and she's in Times Square, and Jarvis is sort of a grumpy. He's a grumpy Brooklynite who like Times Square and get out of here. And Nadia is just so amazed by the Times Square-ness of it all.
Yeah, then that is a great way to describe it, Times Square-ness of it all. But as a native New Yorker, I just want to say thank you, just because Unstoppable Wasp is great in itself, but I think that there's something special about it, me being a black girl from New York, seeing other black girls and women of color from New York be brilliant and be smart and be cunning and kind of figure themselves out in this kind of weird, odd, fanciful like universe. So I enjoy it. I look forward to seeing what else you guys do for issue 4 and beyond, and I look forward to seeing how Girl as an organization develops. So thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much, and I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I wanted to make sure that in their cases that it's not just it's not even just diversity for diversity's sake. I wanted to make sure that they have unique personalities, that they're unique characters, that you have characters like Shay is not, she's a unique kid, and that she's 16 and running around in basically suits looking like Janelle Monáe, and she's one of those kids that you're like, wow, if you were 26 you would be the coolest kid, but at 16 like other kids aren't going to get you. Like, they're not going to understand what this is about. So if you can just hang in there for a few more years, it'd be really cool.
Yeah, no, you gotta tweet Janelle Monáe and be like, hey, by the way, if you haven't read Unstoppable Wasp number 3, you might see something that tickles your fancy if you want.
Everybody get on that. Flag Janelle Monáe. Get Janelle Monáe reading the series.
Everybody who is listening to this podcast, do me a favor, at Janelle Monáe, and let her know that Unstoppable Wasp #3, there's a character named Shay, and she bears a bit of a resemblance, but that's the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, the suit is sharp, and I was like, and I love the perforated Oxfords, and I was like, and she looks like Janelle Monáe, so wins all around for me. But yeah, I think Janelle Monáe is kind of very much into like fiction and sci-fi and NASA and space and all these very engineering heavy type of things, so I think she would actually love it. So I will make sure after we finish speaking, I will tweet Janelle Monáe, like, oh, by the way, have you seen this character? Just wanted to bring this to your attention. Before we end, what is your social media handles? How can we get in contact with you? And just kind of let people know what you're working on next.
So on Twitter, I am at JROME58. It's JROME58. On Tumblr, I'm Princeless Comic, .tumblr.com. And that, post stuff from Princeless as well as, a lot of my Marvel stuff, Unstoppable Wasp. Obviously, probably by the time this comes out, issue 4 will be out or be just about to come out because it's releasing the first week of April. And then issue 5 of that is out the first week of May. Issue 6 is out the first week of June. And that's going to round out this first story. So if people are hooked and excited, you got to hang in there and keep reading that for the next few months. And if you haven't jumped on it yet, obviously, this is a great time to jump in. In addition to that, Princeless and my spinoff Pirate Princess, they'll be back a little later this year. They're always available on Comixology or, wherever you get comics. They're in trade collections, so you can order them on Amazon and stuff like that. And then I'm doing a couple of stories coming up from Marvel. I'm doing a short story about the new Ant-Man, Raz Malhotra, who is that's going to be in Secret Empire: Brave New World #1, and got another one shot for Secret Empire, which is Secret Empire Underground, which is a team of Avengers who are going to the Savage Land to try and save the world, including guest star of the first issue of Unstoppable Wasp, Mockingbird, who will be kicking butt.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. We really appreciate you for coming on. Thanks. We really, really, really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I love doing it.
The Black Girl Nerds podcast is produced by Jamie Broadnax. Various episodes are edited by Jamie Broadnax, M.R. Daniel, and John Bauer. The opening theme song to our show is written and performed by Samus. Various instrumentals are performed by Samus, Sky Blue, and Shubzilla. You can find episodes of the Black Girl Nerds podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spreaker, and Spotify.
That was a HeadGum podcast.